With Christmas around the corner, many of us are getting gifts for our kids. And the natural gift for some of us to turn to is technology, things that we can kind of give our kids to help inspire them, get them to think creatively about different things in the world. But what do we do when that technology has seedbeds of artificial intelligence? And it's kind of pitched in a way to help our kids be social. Does artificial intelligence actually build muscles to be social? Dr. Kathy has some insights, and we're going to turn to her now.
Don't be afraid of the dark. Be careful with stars. Not every light is gonna guide you, baby. Not every light is gonna guide you.
So Dr. Kathy, Taylor Owen, he's a professor at the Max Bell School of Public Policy at McGill University. He's also the director of the Center for Media and Technology and Democracy. He looks at the phenomenon of the artificial intelligence industry, specifically on interactive toys that are now powered by AI. He kind of says that AI is now powering a lot of interactive toys. For example, there's a $1,500 toy robot you can buy for your kids named Moxie. When you turn on the interactive toy, it says, "My name is Moxie. I am a robot. What is your name?" And Moxie is sort of like a robotic best friend. That's kind of how they've designed it. So when your kid talks to it, Moxie records those conversations and then uses the technology powered by OpenAI to analyze those reactions and then react back. Embodied is the company that makes Moxie, and it says that this helps kids regulate their emotions. It provides them with companionship and boosts their self-esteem. All of which kind of sounds great, but toys like this should also probably give us a little bit of pause, because a toy like this comes with a whole host of privacy concerns. And many are now saying that Moxie records the video and audio of your child and then analyzes that data to create facial expression and user image data that then is kind of used and kept in a metadata mine that recognizes your child's facial expressions and how they're interacting with the toy, and then kind of uses it for its own benefit. Embodied says that it's ultimately parents' responsibilities to ensure that their child isn't giving out personal data, but it does take the audio and video recordings and use it to kind of interact with the kid. So, Dr. Kathy, I brought up this story because we're really in gift buying season. And now, while we're not going to spend probably $1,500 on an AI toy robot, I know that there are other concerns about AI and privacy and other interactive toys that are kind of going on right now. What do you think that interactive toys like this do to kids as they're developing and growing and understanding the world?
If a parent chooses to purchase a toy like this and allows the toy to be a companion instead of a person being a companion, the risks are too many to mention. We cannot do that. I am concerned about privacy. This is fascinating. But let me say this: when I was a child, I own a doll. I still have this doll. I'm going to admit, I still have this doll from childhood, and I can make her eyes close, and I can touch her, and her eyes will open. So she interacted with me. I could make her look sick, or I could make her look healthy. It's a long story. She's she just brings back amazing memories. But we invented and we created and we told stories, and then our toys became a part of the action. I am so concerned today, and I think we've talked about this, about children who today cannot invent. Teachers of preschoolers and kindergartners who are telling us that children don't know how to go to the housekeeping corner and pretend to be a mom, if you will. They've lost that creative edge. They don't know how to play together. That's dangerous. That's what I'm concerned about, is that these kinds of AI toys and activities would take the place of the inventive play. I will also say that there are some interactive toys that I've seen that are not dangerous, in my opinion, that teach cause-effect thinking and problem solution thinking. So if I push this button, this happens. If I look in the mirror and smile, this makes me feel this way. If I push this button, this happens. But over here, if I turn the spinner, this is what happens. So there are toys you can interact with that aren't dangerous, that can really teach a lot of cause-effect problem solution thinking. I think those are really healthy.
That's interesting, Dr. Kathy. I hadn't really ever thought that we do interact with our toys and in many ways kind of build stories or build worlds with them. And maybe this is a unique way because we look on the other side of these toys and realize that someone else is working to kind of build that world for our kids and with our kids. And that's somebody that we don't really know. And we don't have an idea of what they're doing. So it's not really our kids' imagination that's kind of interacting with them at that point. And this kind of leads me to this next thought because, I used to work in a nursing home and we were really encouraged to kind of talk to residents and their families about getting different interactive toys like this, like little dolphins that would kind of sit up and chirp ideas or concepts or ask a question of how the resident was feeling that day or what was their favorite childhood memory. And it was kind of used to help kind of seniors cope with different things with loneliness and kind of being in their room kind of by themselves and not always having staff around. I feel like this is almost, maybe I'm taking it to a different degree, but I feel like this is kind of the same thing that's happening here. And it makes me wonder this question. Does loneliness have kind of a place in the life of kids? Should we be regulating or maybe even kind of medicating when we're kind of alone or lonely with different things like artificial intelligence or digital devices to kind of occupy our time? Or is kind of loneliness or being alone really something that is helpful for development? What are your thoughts on that?
Yes, it's helpful for development. My thoughts are you learn to cope with being alone. You don't medicate. Now, again, I'm being in the broadest sense of the world. We don't medicate. If there are mental health issues, if there's trauma and fear, then that's a whole different story. But in general, we have to learn to be alone. And I teach people all the time that being alone and being lonely are two different things. When you're alone, you don't have to be lonely. When you're alone, you don't have to be sad and depressed. Now, if you are sad and depressed, you can find out why and what to do to negate those feelings. And serving and playing a game, even an innocent solitary game on a device, can be something that entertains you. Nothing horribly wrong with that, unless you spend 6 hours a day, in my opinion, doing it and you don't give back to culture. That would be, of course, dangerous. So, loneliness is real. Being alone is real, but let's teach kids friendship skills. Let's teach kids how to be more confident and outgoing. Confidence is one of the 48 qualities in my new character book. We can teach that. Self-awareness is self-regulation. This is how I feel. This is what helps me when I feel this way at work last time. Let's try it this time. We can help our kids recognize thought patterns and feelings and learn to cope well with the reality that we will spend much of our time alone and we don't always have to be lonely.
Yeah, I think that's really important to think through and process, especially kind of in light of a new phenomenon that we've kind of stumbled upon, maybe as a culture. My wife and I have done a lot of kind of reading into this and understanding into this as we do a lot of ministry with teenagers. But there's this movement kind of within some teen circles to have what are considered artificial intelligent girlfriends. Now, I don't say that kind of as kind of tongue in cheek that maybe most boys are kind of artificially intelligent. I'm not saying that. That's not what I'm saying. But there are some kind of that actually are turning to these tools to help teens really develop and manage their relationship skills. So a lot of these artificial intelligent kind of girlfriends or mates or girlfriends or boyfriends are used by companies to kind of help kids in their different kind of relationship skills. But many of these companies have actually turned to shut down the service because they've found that many teens are now becoming really abusive to the artificial intelligent relationships. They're becoming verbally abusive. Some are now kind of afraid that this artificial intelligence and these kind of habits are actually teaching teens to be abusive towards human. What do you think that artificial intelligence does to us? I mean, does it really alter and dehumanize kind of the way that we look at how we're called to interact and engage in the world? And why is this something important for us to consider, knowing that many kids don't really have a handle on human relationships, and turning to artificial intelligence, from what I'm seeing, doesn't really help? How should parents and those working with kids really think about this issue when we want to turn to kind of computers to maybe train or build muscles for us?
First, I have to say, if you would have asked me even 2 months ago if we would be having this conversation, I would have said absolutely not. I am stunned that people have actually thought about this, and maybe I'm being very naive and showing my age here, but why would anyone think that a person with low social skills interacting with a non-being is helpful? Oh my goodness, Wayne, it increases passivity. You could bully and not see any emotional response from this thing on the other side of the conversation, if you will. This is really sad. It's allowing passivity. It's allowing us to be irresponsible and to not take ownership of the situation because we don't think we're affecting anyone because it's not a person, it's a thing. This is dangerous.
You know, as Dr. Kathy was talking, it led me to think about the Christian perspective on what it means to actually be human and what it means to really respect and cherish human life. It's something that comes out really poignantly inside of Genesis chapter 9. I'm going to begin reading at verse 1. Then God blessed Noah and his sons, saying to them, "Be fruitful and increase in number and fill the earth. The fear and dread of you will fall on the beasts of the earth, and on all the birds in the sky, and on every living creature that moves along the ground, and on all the fish in the sea. They are given into your hands. Everything that lives and moves about will be food for you. Just as I gave you the green plants, now I give you everything. But you also must not eat meat that still has its lifeblood in it. And for your lifeblood, I will surely demand an accounting. I will demand an accounting for every animal. And from each human being, too, I will demand an accounting for the life of another human being. Whoever sheds human blood, by humans shall their blood be shed. For in the image of God has God made mankind." You know, I think that there's something inside of Genesis 9 that inside of a Christian worldview really gives us direction and purpose as we think through the different things that we've been given to build or create, really things that we've been given to have dominion over. So as we treat humanity, we do so with an understanding that we are engaging and interacting with God, with the image of God, with the very image of God that He has put here on the earth. And I think even for little things like Christmas presents, it's something to consider. Are the things that we're engaging with celebrating and driving towards that image of God? Or are they things that diminish the image of God inside of other people? And I think taking an engaging posture with this, where we look really to celebrate the image of God in others, I think doing that and teaching our kids that we're doing that, I think that's something that's going to shine bright in this world that is filled with people that are trying to make an artificial reality. I want to thank you for listening to the Celebrate Kids podcast in this, our daily segment, Face in the Dark. On behalf of Dr. Kathy Cook, my name is Wayne Stender, and I'm looking forward to seeing you here again tomorrow.